Welcome to Videorial CD002 CorelDRAW X5 Basics, creating artwork for a letterhead, part 2. Now we're going to pick up where we left off in the last Videorial, so I'll go into my project folder, open up the original document, close the window down. Now the first thing I'm going to do is save another copy of the document. This is very good practice. It avoids problems like corruption of files. If your file gets corrupt after a day or a couple of days or even a week of working on it, you've lost the lot. So it's good practice to just create different versions of it as you're going along. That way, if something does happen to the file, you can always just go back one version. Okay, so I've renamed it, saved it. Need to add a couple of guides to the artwork or workspace. I'm going to just click and drag one down from the top, 268 millimeters from the bottom left-hand corner. Okay, another one at 288 millimeters from the bottom left-hand corner. Okay. What we're going to do now is draw an ellipse that the center bottom point of the ellipse is going to meet here. You'll see me wiggling the mouse, and then the arc, the right hand bottom arc, is going to touch here. You'll see what I mean when I draw. Okay, so by the way, to zoom in and out, hit the zoom tool. Clicking the left mouse button will zoom in by a given amount. Clicking the right button will zoom you out, or you can just click and drag and draw a marquee. Okay, or you can even just use it on the standard menu bar at the top here. Click the Ellipse tool. Now the idea is to try and draw an ellipse that, so I'm now going to just click position. Okay, now what I've done, oops, zoom tool. I'm just going to zoom in on this area. Now it's not quite central here, you can see that. So I'm going to use the arrow keys on the keyboard. I'm going to hit the right arrow key. Now remember from the last Videorial, we've got this nudge distance here. I set mine to 0.1, so each time I click the arrow key on the keyboard, it moves it by 0.1 millimeters. Quite an accurate way of moving objects around. Now it doesn't have to be exactly precise. So it doesn't quite meet here. So what I'm going to do is just squish the ellipse down now. That's it, perfect. It touches here and it touches here. Okay, now with it being an ellipse, it has certain properties. Ellipses you can convert into pies and arcs and various other things. It has ellipse properties. Now we don't need those. We're effectively going to create a shape that just fits in the top of the page here. So we need to convert it not from an ellipse to just a curve, if you like, a closed curve. So we're going to go Arrange, Convert to Curves. It's now no longer an ellipse. If you click it, it doesn't have elliptical properties. It's now just a shape or a curve, a closed curve, which means we can add color and fill it. We're now going to create another ellipse exactly 3 millimeters in from the outer ellipse. So you need to go to the contour docker. If you're not sure how to open it up, just well, I'll show you very quickly. Window, Dockers, Contour. Okay, we're going to create a contour inside at 3 millimeters, one step, apply. You see what's done, what it's done. Now, because we've interacted using one of the Dockers with the object, it's now linked. The two ellipses are linked. We need to break them apart in order to manipulate them individually. So we need to go Arrange, Break Contour Apart. Now we've got two ellipses, lovely, but we don't need all this area here. So what I'm going to do is use another shape to trim them down. So draw a rectangle. Now I'm going to hit the Shift button on the keyboard and I'm going to select the inner ellipse. Now what I do is I hit Shift and then click. It's selected both objects. Now I selected the rectangle first because that is the one that's going to act as kind of like a pastry cutter. Now when you select multiple objects like this, depending on what they are, it will give you these options up at the top here. Weld, trim. Now the one we're going to use is trim. And effectively that's all I've done is I've trimmed off the outer part of that object, okay, where they overlap. Now I'm going to do the same, hit Shift. Now you'll notice that you can't actually select the outer. You see, it's only when you get close to the edge of the outer ellipse that it will enable you to click it and select it. So I've done the same thing, trim. Okay, so just click anywhere in here to deselect. Oh, I did something wrong there. I actually welded the two together rather than trimmed it. So I'm just going to go back a step, and I'm going to hit trim. That's better. Okay. Now I'm just going to move this object up here. I'm going to do exactly the same thing again. Hit Shift, select the internal ellipse. Then I'm going to hit Select, Shift, External. One more. Just move it down here. Really useful tool. You can create any shape you like using this method. It's amazing. Trim. Trim. Right, now, perfect. So we've got a perfect arc with a perfect, well, two perfect shapes, one 3mm up from the other. Now we're going to apply some colour. Now you'll notice that it has an outline. Now to turn the outline off, you can either go into Outline Pen and then just hit No Outline, or even go into the Outline Pen dialog box and reduce it to 0. But the quickest way to do it is just to come over to here on the palette. Let's just minimise that, and right mouse click. Okay. Now I want to apply a fill to this that is 100% black. Okay, I'll explain a little bit more about why I've done that later on in another videorial, especially when I mentioned that we were actually using color matching colors here, Pantone. So anyway, black, no outline. Now this lower or external shape, we need to apply, or actually remove a color. We're applying a white, but it's zero cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Okay, so we just go in here and click 0. It's now white. Again, I want to remove the outline. I won't do that quite yet because I want to be able to see it. Now, the next thing we need to do is apply a drop shadow to this external or lower shape. So I'm going to come over to here to the blend tool. You'll notice that there's a little arrow in the bottom right hand corner. That denotes the fact that there's more options. Okay, now I need to keep my left mouse button down, then release on the drop shadow. I've now selected the drop shadow tool. Now what I do is I click. See, I've still got the external, the white shape selected. I'm going to click somewhere in the middle, and I'm going to drag down like that. You'll notice that the blue line is denoting where the drop shadow will stop. Okay, so it's up to you how you do it. You'll see what happens. Look, I'll just let go. Done. What it's done is it's applied a drop shadow. Okay, now I want to remove. Now I can see the shape. I want to remove the outline, so I'm just going to right mouse click. Perfect. Okay, that's it. That is the top. Now we want the same thing in the bottom. Oh no, actually there's one more thing. There's the green stripe along the top. Let me just show you the original letterhead design. Remember, this is a PDF copy. There's this green line across the top. That green line is 4mm high. So I'm going to create. You notice that, look, because we've got guideline snap-on, I'm going to click just where the two guides meet. I'm going to keep holding the left mouse button down and come along and then release. I'm now going to apply a color to that. And I want Pantone 347. 347. It's a green. 347. 347. So what I've done is I've come over to the palette and you hover over the color and then you just left mouse click. Okay. Now at the moment it's got an outline on it, so I want to remove that. So I'm going to right mouse click. The only other thing I need to do now is I need to make sure it's the right size. It needs to be exactly 4mm high. Okay. Now it isn't, it's 3.968. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the size, but I want it to only adjust it down, because at the moment it's tucked right up against this top guide. So what I'm going to do is, if I increase the size from the center, it would make it bigger top and bottom. I only want it to be bigger in the bottom. So I select the point at which it's going to grow. So that point will be fixed, and I'm just going to change that, click and drag, change that to 4 on the keyboard and hit enter. And what it's done is it's made that shape bigger by the given amount along the bottom. Okay, Right, that is it. All we've got to do now, if we just go back to our document, is replicate that same shape down the bottom here. Okay, I'll just close that down. Close that down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select, I'm going to arrange, and I'm going to group those objects. Okay, they're now grouped. Now, I'm going to use this transformations tool. Now, this option here, this middle option, gives us mirroring abilities. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create one copy, but I'm going to flip it. Now, it's really difficult to see. It's not a very good design, but you need to see it's depressed, depressed. It's on. They're both on. So now if I hit apply, what it's done is it's flipped it vertically and horizontally. Okay. Now what I've got to do is I'm just going to grab this bottom left-hand corner here, and I'm going to drag it down. Remember, we've got the guides. Drag it down. Right. Oops. Click. Oops. Really difficult. Let's just grab it, drag it down. It should fit. Let's try it. We've got to try and fit it in the right position. You can see what I'm trying to do is, let's zoom in. I'm trying to grab that point there and drag that point down so that point sits perfectly in the bottom. There we go. Done. So let's just zoom out. Remember, hit the zoom tool, right mouse click, and then we'll zoom in. Or we could just go fit to page. Perfect. That is the end of Videorial. This Videorial, part 2, creating the letterhead. Thank you for watching.